Hey folks, today we're going to talk about how to incorporate native plants into your permaculture design. Um, I'm going to show you our privacy hedge that is mostly made up of native plants, and it also has some fruit producing trees. A native plant garden, and we wanted a food forest at the front as well. We have figs. We have three figs in the front yard. We have a cherry and a Nanking cherry. Those are the plants that those are the fruit producing trees that and shrubs that we have in the front yard. Practicing permaculture in an urban setting, you don't always get to have all the layers of a food forest present at a specific spot. So that's where you have to use discretion and site specific design to come into play. So we're at the front. We want it to be, beautiful, and we want it to seem intentional, but also wild and flourishing and bright, like a cottage garden. So, so up here we have a sub canopy layer, a shrub layer actually, of is non-native, but along the edges and below the Nanking cherry, we have mountain mint. That's a narrow leaf mountain mint. We have agastache. We have some butterfly milkweed around here, and some little blue stems. And around the corner from this Nanking cherry, we also have some coreopsis. In when designing this trip, we knew that we would depend on annuals to help fill in the gap. And here is one. This is sorrel, Jamaican sorrel, and that's an annual that's filling in the gap. Next season, we'll fill that hole with another cool native plant. Over here, we have a non-native plant, marshmallow, but the pollinators really love this one. Over here we have some echinacea. They're really suffering from the drought that we've been having. And those are native plants. Over here we have some rudbeckia. And this is another native plant that the pollinators really love. And with designing any space, it's up to you. It's up to what you like. So if you want a native plant heavy guild, then do that. But if you want to mix in non-natives that are not invasive, have at it. I think there are a few um, annual plants that really slap when it comes to providing food for um, wildlife, and I think zinnia's definitely one of them. Beside the zinnia, we have a lobelia tupa, and that's a native plant in the tobacco family. It's going to flower, sends up I think red flowers. The hummingbirds really love that. Beside here we have a rattlesnake master, and that's a native plant. And these plants provide a soft landing. So around the fruiting plants that we have, or the plants that we want to act as the canopy or the sub canopy layer, until they grow, it provides shade for them. So this is a Carolina allspice. It's really suffering from the drought, but that's the benefit of planting native plants. They'll suffer, they'll tough it out, and they'll come back thriving. So I'm not worried about that at all. Over here we have some mountain mint, which acts as a ground cover and a rhizomatous layer for us in this food forest, along alongside being a great pollinator plant. This plant is pretty tough and tasty. We love using it to make mojitos and tea. So that goes into obtaining a yield. Over here we have some more native plants. This is a swamp milkweed, great plant for some wet spots. Anywhere where it's danky, it's a great plant for it. It's also a pretty huge plant, and it will provide shade, much needed shade for the tinier plants around it. This mountain mint doesn't get watered, and it's pretty good. The oldest pair of shoes ever found is found in North America, I think, and it's made from rattlesnake master. This is a important plant to not only wildlife but to a lot of Native American tribes, and I'm happy to be able to put it back in its rightful place. Over here we have some echinacea. And this Nanking cherry was suffering. We put it at not an ideal place, and then we moved it to here. Hopefully it will grow and catch up the other one and be able to fill in this gap in this privacy hedge that we're trying to accomplish here. So over here we have a few plants that we can obtain yields from. The echinacea is a lovely medicinal plant. We have rosemary under there enjoying the shade and also giving us a yield, giving us something that we can share, because that's the most important part of why we're doing this. We're wanting to share with wildlife and humans. Have another berry producing shrub. This is the American beautyberry, and this is a shrub that the birds really love. Pollinators really love it. The flowers are tiny, really inconspicuous. Here's another important layer for your food forest, and this is a ground cover. This is the native bearberry. It's doing well, it's doing its job. It grows well in the shade and it'll produce berries way into winter, provide food for wildlife. The comfrey is a wonderful ground cover as well. It grows real thick and it really hugs the ground. Cornflower, and along with some little blue stem, we have some more milkweed up here. We have a few grasses. We have purple love grass, more little blue stem. And as I said before, we can always add annuals to your gills, throw it in there wherever it can fit, and that will help you to make use of all the space that you have and obtain a lot of yields. This is another plant that is great for the pollinators. The bumblebees really love the huge flowers on these sorrels, so that's another way to pull in pollinators to your yard. When designing your fruit tree gills or berry producing gills, you also want to think about how do you want to attract pollinators and when do you want to attract them. So um, the Nanking cherry produces flowers very early in the season. So we're gonna add some more ephemerals, pollinators, happy and early in the season. We can have pollinators coming out from early. And you also want to be like an advertisement. This is an ad saying, hey, come over here. It's tasty. There's a lot of stuff to taste and to sample. And that's what you want to do. So we're gonna check over by the fig tree guild and let's see. This is the fig tree guild. This is an Italian black fig and it's growing with a lot of friends, and let's check them out. So like the elderberry guild, we do have some plants that are native that just screams come over here, come check stuff out, and that's the black-eyed Susan. We have some Leatrice, Blazing Star, also have some Echinacea, various types. And one of the supporting plants that we have that's non-native is comfrey, and that's a great one. We've chopped this down many times. So early in the season, it would have filled all this space. We have sage that we can use in the kitchen. So our fig tree is to the front, and we also have in supporting cast, we have a aronia berry, and these berries will ripen and provide food into winter. We have some butterfly milkweed that hopefully will self sow and be a loving thicket up here of milkweed. Here we have some, I think this is, I don't remember that. Under here we have some New England aster. This New England aster will provide nectar way into the season. That's awesome. You have some more little blue stem. Check out, we have some purple love grass, yarrow, and some annual flowers. So one of the great things about this is that as the fruit tree matures, as the fruit tree matures, so will the design of this front yard. So as the seasons pass, we'll add more native plants, and they will take over from the annuals in filling that space.